Okay.
Hello, folks, and welcome back to the podcast. Dan Kroll here for episode 39. And tonight I have former all-around great athlete, and probably still great athlete, John Weiland with me. Thanks for coming on, John.
You bet. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
This should be a fun one. Before we get to John, like always, I need to recognize my sponsors. Like last week's episode with Jeff Nielsen, I have 20 sponsors for tonight. And I was telling him before the episode here, John, before the episode, that it's a good money night for sponsorship for money that goes towards the Sanger Legacy Fund. So thanks to these sponsors, the Britt Car, Truck, Bike, and Tractor Night Cruise, Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company, Jay Hiscox of State Farm Insurance, First State Bank, Daniels Auto Collision, Katie Salon and Tanning, Deemer Realty, Nick Schmidt, Kelly Real Estate, Sidetrack Lanes, Wilson's Diner, Britt Food Center, Levi Dawn Trucking, Miller and Sons Golf Cars, Britt Vet Clinic, The World with Nate Podcast, Mike Muth Welding, Mark Scar, The Original Saw, and Jeff and Becky Nielsen. So thanks again to those sponsors. I'm going to jump right into some of those sponsors since we have so many of them. I'm going to start with the Jay Hiscox State Farm Team in Britt. They're a proud supporter of Wes Hancock and the Sanger Legacy Fund. They can help you with all your insurance needs, including auto, home, life, farm, business, and renter's insurance. For a free quote or review, give Jay or Lindsay a call at 843-3563. Go Eagles. And thanks to Jay and his team for sponsoring almost all of my episodes. Thanks to Nick Schmidt for sponsoring the episode tonight. Nick is a 2000 Wes Hancock grad and wanted to give back and give to the Sanger Legacy Fund. So thanks to Nick Schmidt for sponsoring. Katie's Salon and Tanning is owned by Katie Walk, mother of senior Braden Walk. She's located in Main Street in Titonka. She's been there for 16 going on 17 years. Services offered are men's, women's, and children's haircuts, colors, perms, waxing, styles, and tanning, plus many brands of retail are available. Find Katie's Salon and Tanning on Facebook or Instagram, or call her at 928-2303 for appointments. Kelly Real Estate has been in business for 62 years, starting with Paul Kelly. Paul handed the business off to Steve and Deanna in 2017. Steve and Deanna have been involved with the business for over 20 years and really enjoy it. It's a great way to get to know people and get involved with the community. Kelly Real Estate this year added Rachel Swanson, I should say last year, to their team, and office manager Nora Clark as well. So if you're looking for just the right starter home, the perfect forever home, or a unique fixer-upper, or even transition into your retirement home, call Kelly Real Estate at 843-4102. All right, some spring sports updates with the weather we've had. There's not a whole lot to report. Boys golf with head coach Chris Gobelai. They took third at the GHV Triangular. Lake Mills shot a 157, GHV shot a 192, and Wes Hancock shot a 249. Haven't seen any results from girls golf, but on the 22nd, they're at Rice Lake. The 25th, they're at Eagle Grove, and the 29th at Groose, my old stomping grounds. And May 9th is their conference meet at Bear Creek. Boys track with head coach Matt Welp. Some cancellations it looked like last week. Didn't really see any results. They were at GHV last night and I didn't see any results. I already had my notes ready to go. And then girls track with head coach Mark Sanger. Same as the boys, lots of cancellations. Last night they were at GHV, but no results. And while we're on this, I wanted to congratulate Mark Sanger. He is passing off the baton, you could say, to Camille Kronman, or it's Camille Gopel now. She's going to be the new head girls track coach starting next year. I'm excited for Mark to be able to get some more family time and get away a little bit since he's already coaching football and wrestling as well. Speaking of Sangers, remember to give to the Sanger Legacy Fund. It's created to honor the late great coach Bob Sanger and his wife, Mrs. Sanger. Please go to sangerstrong.com if you want to give. Right now we're gearing up for the new Athletic and Activity Hall of Fame, and we're going to help fund that. So go to sangerstrong.com. You can set up recurring payments for that if you'd like. All right, 10 episodes ago on episode 29, I talked to Rachel Leerar. I saw she's recently entered the transfer portal looking for somewhere else to play her college ball, so I'm excited to see where she ends up. 20 episodes ago on episode 19 was Aaron Rasmussen, and 30 episodes ago on episode 9 was the 1986 Girls State Championship golf team. Speaking of golf, I'm going to do 2 more sponsors, and then John has been waiting patiently here for me. So here we almost ready. Miller and Sons Golf Cars is family-owned operation with over 50 years of business experience. Skip and Jim Miller worked together with their dad Monty until his passing in 1996. Associated with EasyGo, Miller & Sons now calling over 1,000 golf cars in 3 different states. Companies and courses are always extremely happy with their products, service, and honesty. This has resulted in double-digit growth each passing year. Based in Britt, Miller & Sons employs 18 full-time employees and 3 part-timers. The next generation is being trained as we speak to ensure long-term stability. For more information, contact them at 843-4132. Email them at customerservice@millergolfcars.com or visit them online at millergolfcars.com. And then, like I said, Jeff and Becky Nielsen of Nielsen Farms, my last guest, they're sponsoring this episode. Jeff did a great job on his episode. So if you haven't watched that one, it's episode 38. The Nielsens simply wanted to give back and help out the Sanger Legacy Fund. So thanks to Jeff and Becky Nielsen for sponsoring the podcast. All right, John, I've talked a lot now. It's your turn. So what's keeping you busy these days? What's going on?
All right, now just work, I guess, waiting for the rain and snow or whatever to get over so we can get in the fields.
Yep. What do you do for work then?
I work here at the local elevator, new co-op. So just waiting for that, done that 32 years, going on 32 years now. We've actually been in the fields a little bit, not much around here, but have been in it, but waiting for the weather to change and get going.
Yep. And you said you have to work with Mark Eisman off air. So my condolences to you for having to put up with him every day.
Yep, exactly.
Those Eismans. Yep.
You got it.
How are the wife and kids?
They're good. I'm married to Kathy Madsen, who we graduated together in '85, went together throughout most of high school. Have 3 kids. Oldest one, daughter, Kaylee, is married to Corey Squire. They live in Woden, and they have 1 daughter, Addison, who's just over 2 years old. Middle boy, Logan, lives here in town, actually works with me at New Co-op. I think he's been there now, maybe going on 3 years. And then the youngest boy, Lucas, who helped me set this up, thank him. He lives here and works at Alliant Energy right now.
Okay. And is that out just outside of Britt, or where's that located?
Correct. Yep. They have the new building just east of Britt.
Okay. Nice.
Yep.
I
Just
thought
east
that.
of Pritchard's.
Good. So everyone's pretty much right by you, y'all 3 kids. So
Correct. Yep. We don't have to go very far, actually.
Yeah, that's nice. Yep. We're going to talk today. We're going to do football. We're going to talk briefly baseball and basketball, then a lot of track, because that was one of John's specialties. I was going to ask you though, how closely are you following Wes Hancock these days? I know you said you're up in the press box on Friday nights for football.
Right, definitely Friday nights when they're at home. Actually, Tracy Smith and I, who was graduated a year before me, '84, him and I run the 24 or the play clock and the game clock. Done that for a few years. So we're definitely make the home games, the away games, harder to get to working agriculture, it's hard to get away.
Yep.
Always want you leaving early, so you don't make all the games, but you try and listen to them on the radio or the podcast, or whatever. Listen to Kevin and Jay a lot.
Yep.
That's always very interesting.
Yep.
Otherwise, follow everything as much as possible. Would love to follow track a lot more. Last spring, we got in the field, got in early, and actually Kathy and I went down to the state track meet. I haven't been to that in, I think since my daughter actually went, and that's been, I think she's 26 or 27. So that was back when she was 18. 8 years ago was probably the last time I was there. Nice. I tell you what, I enjoyed it. I would really love to go more, but with my job, it doesn't always happen.
Yep. You've been there more recently than I have, so I'm jealous. I used to go every year.
It's a great place to go to, I'll tell you that.
Yep. Wife and kids change all that. So
yes, they do.
Yep. And I'm in Indianola, so it takes me literally a half an hour to get to Drake Stadium from where I live, and
it
doesn't happen, but what do you do? So
no, exactly.
Yeah, well, let's get started with football here. That's always a favorite topic of mine because football's kind of my specialty when it comes to Britt and West Hancock, but we're going to save a lot of the end of the episode for track. So you played for Coach Sanger from 81 to 84. And to me, this era is awesome because that 81 team gets overlooked a lot because they were 7-1, lost to Osage by 2 and missed the playoffs. We always think of the teams that made the playoffs and how far they went. This was kind of sandwiched in between that 73 title team and your senior year of 84, where that's where I say the dynasty kind of started. But that 81 team kind of gets overlooked. Did you play any varsity at all in 81 as a freshman, or were you mostly just JV?
No, it was pretty much all JV then. But yeah, you are right. My senior year is when they actually changed the structure you're going to talk about later. And it's too bad they didn't do that for that 81 year because that was one heck of a team. I was too young to remember the 73 team, but I guess I would maybe compare them to that. Boy, they had size, they had speed, they had everything. There was no way I was ever going to play on that team.
Yeah, they had some studs. And like I said, a 14-12 loss to Osage at Osage was the only loss on the season. They beat Belmont by 4. Other than that, they beat everybody by 18, 20 or more. Beat Garner 54-8 that year. So that was definitely a banner season and probably the best team or one of the top 3 best teams to not make the playoffs in school history, which a lot of teams that have made the playoffs and not that many that haven't. And some of the ones that didn't make the playoffs, I'd say were solid playoff teams. They just didn't get there due to the structure of the playoffs, like you said. So, So then 1982 was your sophomore season. You did play varsity that year, according to the stat book.
Correct. Hey, Dan, I want to bring up something, back in 81. I don't know how they do practice now. I wish I'd get down there and watch them, but, and I don't know if you remember practices, but like on Monday nights, we'd play JV games.
Yep.
Tuesday on JV, you'd come out and it'd be pretty light practice. And I don't know if you guys did it, but on Wednesday was the days that we would practice against the varsity special teams.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, Wednesday was the hardest hitting day of the week.
Correct. And you would go live against the varsity. Your JV would go live against varsity.
Yep. Or at least we'd mix up a little bit. I mean, the varsity squad would mix in with whoever wasn't, starting. So it'd be juniors, sophomores, whatever. But it was kind of a free for all because any drill we would do, you'd kind of mix in on those days. I remember my freshman year, you'd look over and see, okay, I'm the third guy in line. I'd count over there, 1, 2, 3. Oh crap, it's Ryan Johnson. And you desperately try to trade with people like, I'll give you $20 if you trade spots with me. But then sometimes it wasn't much better because it'd be Taylor Vanden Weinboom or Aaron Rasmussen, all these guys that played college ball, and some of them were all-American or all-state and high school type guys. So it was
exactly. What I remember about that though was, we did do special teams. It was varsity. We didn't trade. It was varsity against JV.
Yeah.
Happened to be one of the times the varsity was kicking off. They were doing kickoff, so we were receiving. And I think I was back there with Monty Eccles. Well, anyhow, I got the ball. And how in the world this ever happened? Because I think, Rob Whipple was one of the varsities. He was 6'5", like 280, maybe 300. Jeff Moeller was roughly in that size. There's Jim Swears. I had Gary Kearns was fast. Wasn't the tallest guy in the world, but boy, he could hit. Well, anyhow, I received the ball and we ran it back on the varsity. That was one of the dumbest things we ever did.
They're like, yep,
guess what?
Never happening again.
No, because guess what? Coach blew the whistle and we had to go do it again. Oh, yeah.
Didn't go so well the second time.
No,
probably.
The next time that I remember, they lined up, kicked the ball. I remember Eric Foy was 5 yards ahead of me, getting ready to block. I received the ball, getting ready to run. Here's Gary Kearns, had hit him 5 yards back into me. That was it.
So who got the tackle on the play then?
I don't know. I didn't care. That we were done.
Either way.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep. No, It was just one of the memories that I remember in that, yeah, you didn't want to ever do that. How we ever did that, but it was a good time.
Yep.
I
always
think
said,
I was like, what, 140 pounds compared to some of them guys? So
yeah. Yep. I always said practice was harder than games some weeks. We would hit the crap out of each other and there'd be all staters and future All-Americans on the field, like I said, and I would rather played some Class A or 1A team on a Friday night than do what we did in practice. So
yep, North Iowa Conference was tough and hard hitting, but I believe you. I think we come out of practice at times more sore than we did at games.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Let's move into your 1982
Okay.
season, which is your sophomore year. You did play some varsity that year. 9 carries for 65 yards, 9 catches for 124 yards, and you had 20 tackles on defense. The team went from 7-1 though to 3-5 because like a lot of those guys you named were seniors, pretty senior heavy class, hard to rebound from, losing that many guys sometimes. I'm curious about the 9 catches for 124 yards because in the Britt football world, that's like All-American numbers. Were they throwing little swing passes from the backfield to you, or did they have you lined up at tight end at the time, or how would that look?
Well, they kind of run back then. If I remember right, I think we kind of ran a split end. And what they would do is you would normally do like a 2 and out, run 2 yards and then slant in,
Okay.
or a down and out. So yeah, I was kind of surprised when I seen that too, how much we threw. I do remember one game, and I think it was Osage. They nobody had scored on them. It had rained a lot, was raining real hard. Well, anyhow, yeah, they threw a ball and I was in the end zone and it was raining a lot. Should have caught it and dropped. I know people were very upset. Probably the only one that would have scored on Osage, and I don't know how many quarters, but
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
And that
so
17-0 ended up being the score of that game your sophomore year. So it would have stopped the bleeding a little bit, but wouldn't have made the big difference. But what was it like playing varsity for the first time with Coach Sanger as a sophomore? Any pressure as a sophomore, or was it kind of loosey-goosey out there because you weren't an upperclassman?
yeah, I think it's more loosey-goosey. Most of it I played defensive back. So it's just, yeah, it didn't seem like as much pressure, I guess. A lot of other teams didn't pass most of the time, so you didn't, yeah. It was fun. It was great playing with those guys, I'll tell you that. I loved football.
Yeah.
But,
and like you were just saying, teams didn't pass as much back then. We kind of have that reputation as a team that's a throwback, in 2021, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. But back in the 80s, even into the 90s and early 2000s, even most teams ran the ball 85% of the time still, I would imagine. And you throw in a couple play actions and a couple little quick outs, like you were saying. We weren't the oddball team like we kind of are now. Back then, I think that was more the norm, wasn't it?
yep, you are right. Correct.
It's the football I like.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, all this chucking it around all day long. It's fun to watch on Sundays and Saturday afternoons, but high school football, I love to watch 2 teams just go at it on the ground. So pretty spoiled where we are in Britt.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. And then your junior year, you guys, I get my notes in front of me. You guys went 4-4, so a little improvement. But now you're an upperclassman. You were more of the feature. You had 75 carries for 478 yards and 6 touchdowns. Only 5 catches for 40 yards. Somehow you didn't have as much faith in throwing the ball to you that year or something. I don't know. But defensively, 7 interceptions and 2 fumble recoveries. Your 7 interceptions, I believe, is tied for second all time in season interceptions. And I want to say career-wise, you had a few more in your senior year. I think you were top 3 or 4 in career interceptions. What made you such a good ball hawk back there? Was it mostly your speed, or did you have just good instincts?
I think maybe a little bit of ball speed kind of helped, but yeah, playing off the ball, I don't know. I hate to say it, but I don't even remember them interceptions. I remember running the ball more than playing defense, I guess, back then.
Yeah.
So I don't remember. Luck, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of it's luck, isn't it?
And 83 was Coach Perkins' first year. 83, 84. What was one of those years, wasn't it?
80, yes, it had been actually my junior year.
83. Yep, the one we're talking
Yep,
about.
83, correct,
Yeah.
is when he started.
Talk about Coach Perkins. You had Terry Barton, and then he left, and then Perkins came in. What was that like, adjusting to the new guy, and he ended up being this legendary defensive coach?
You know, I don't even know if we had changed defense that much or not. I don't remember it. You know, I don't remember a lot of what Gene did. I guess, you know, as far as defensive wise, it seemed like, I think we kind of stuck with about the same thing. Maybe Barton ran the same thing. I don't know, but
Gave him some time to get his game going a little bit.
yeah, exactly.
Those going, but
Yeah.
we obviously know how it turned out. He ended up doing okay over the years, so
Oh, yeah.
not too shabby. So,
Yep, exactly.
yeah. Do you have any recollection in 83, your junior year, of thinking like, hey, we're going to be pretty good my senior year? Or did 84, that 8-2 season, 8-2, did that season just kind of happen, or did you guys kind of have some inklings that it was going to happen?
No, be honest with you, that's actually when they changed the frame, the playoff frame or whatever. Sanger took a couple of us aside, I think, in the spring and said, hey, fellas, times have changed. And, you know, they changed the format of football playoffs now. He said, I think we can get in. And that's when we all, as seniors, kind of got together and, hey, you know, we need to start getting serious about this a little more. You know, it's not like we weren't serious the years before. I'm not saying that, but it just, you know, it gives you a different mindset, definitely.
Yep. And going to be a senior, there's a sense of urgency too.
Oh, exactly.
Yep.
You know what? I got it written down here. I think we only had 8 seniors out that year, my senior year. So you got to rely on a lot of underclassmen. You know, I think a lot of us that year, our seniors never came off. I think my senior year, I don't ever remember coming off the field. We didn't have too many games that we blew people out. No,
not too many compared to most years. I have the scores in front of me here for 1984. By this time, it was a yearly tradition to beat Rockford the first game. You guys beat them 53-12.
Yeah.
And then Lake Mills, you won 26-12. Beat Garner 42-21. And then you lost to North Iowa, who was still, they would have been Buffalo Center ranked Lakota, I think, by that time. But either way,
I'm not even sure they were that, were they? They weren't even just Buffalo Center. I don't know.
My dad's senior year of 78, there was just Buffalo Center, and then they joined with Rake in 79, and then it was like every couple of years they added a town, and then Titonka came in for a little bit. It's whatever. But you lost to them 23-22.
That was the homecoming game there.
Yep, you beat Northwood 14-13. Beat Belmont at home 8-0. Beat Osage, which doesn't happen very often in this era, 13-10. Beat Forest City on the road 34-0. And then the playoffs, like you said, they changed the format, and that went to a 16-team playoff. You went to South Hamilton for that first round game and won 14-7, and then lost to Pocahontas 27-7 to end your season at 8-2. But like I said earlier, you guys were kind of that first group. Obviously, there's the 73 team, but then there's an 11-year gap between playoff appearances. But since 84 is when people really think about Britt West Hancock football as being this traditional powerhouse year after year. And I know you guys were that first group essentially. Do you have a good sense of pride still knowing that you were that kind of that first team to get the ball rolling?
Yeah, it's nice to know that. Yeah. But like I say, if they'd have changed that format earlier, I think, you know, definitely the 81, you know, would have done it. But yeah, makes the guy feel good.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And like, you know, nowadays, you know, we have the record book and we have stuff on the internet and whatnot, but you know, the kids that played on the 2021 title team, they can't recite who was the starting lineup on the 84 team, but they definitely know about the 84 team and the 85 team. You know, they have that sense of history. And I think that's what makes West Hancock football pretty cool is even these kids today, they don't just play for, I just want to win football games. It's like, I want to keep the tradition going that was started in 73 and then again in 84. I think that's what makes West Hancock football pretty cool to be a part of, because it's such a tradition. You walk by that trophy case every day. It's pretty neat. So.
Oh, it definitely is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I haven't been in the school for a while. I need to get in there and just take a look at it. So, yeah, but yeah, your senior year, you were 1,000-yard rusher. You had 1,016 yards and 9 touchdowns on 179 carries. You were 1 for 4 passing with a touchdown. Do you remember playing a little quarterback there? What was the situation with that?
No, they actually, Bob or Coach Sanger put in the halfback pass.
Okay.
They would pitch it back to me, and then Jay Hempy would take off straight down the field.
Yep.
1 for 4, what's that percentage? 25%? That's not real good.
Yeah, you're a baseball player. You're an all-star right there. So.
And I do remember the only game that I completed was Forest City, and that's when, they would broadcast the game. And I remember somebody called my parents. They didn't go to the game, but they listened to it, and they said, whoever it was that threw there, John Weiland threw that pass, threw it left-handed. Said, how did he do that? Well, they didn't understand I was left-handed, but they
why do you use his left? Well, he's a lefty, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But no, that's what it was. Is actually Sanger put in some halfback passes. So
nice. Yep. And we've seen that a little bit here and there over the years.
Yep.
And then receiving wise, you had 6 catches for 143 yards, which that's a pretty good average with 1 touchdown. Defensively, you had 4 interceptions. You returned 2 kickoffs for touchdowns. We know you're fast, but was it a combination of speed and power? Was it just getting by kids? How'd you elude those guys on your way to scoring those?
Well, a lot of it's speed, a lot of it's also teammates. Definitely need blocks. You're not going to do it yourself, but cut back a lot. I loved cutting back. I don't know why, where I learned it or whatever, but I do remember a lot of people saying their coach, when you watch the films, as soon as I'd hit the hole, you'd cut back. A lot of people have already gone by you thinking you're going, the other way.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that is definitely what it was just cutting back. I noticed Kane Zool, I think if you watch this year, he did that quite a bit.
Yep. Braden Walk was decent at it. And Francis last year when he played halfback before he moved to fullback this year at the end of the season, I thought he did a nice job going the opposite way a little bit. So
exactly. If you get all you got to get by is that line and linebacker, and them guys have already overran you, and you can go. And then speed help. Once you had a little bit of speed, you get by them. And
there's no catching you at that point.
Nope, exactly.
And P.S., you were the homecoming king that year, senior year. Who was your queen that year? Do you remember?
It was Jean Seebeck.
Seebeck, okay.
Yep.
Nice. Yep. And then
it wasn't a real good homecoming though. Like I told you, we got beat in that game.
Yep.
Matter of fact, I think that my dad was in the hospital at Rochester with having heart surgery. So,
oh geez.
Yeah, I remember after the game went home, you're going home to dress up. And I told Mom, I said, I don't even want to go back. It kind of hit home, but.
Yep. Bigger fish to fry at that point.
Yep,
definitely.
Exactly.
Yep. So you shared these pictures with me. Coach Perkins. You are in there with Steve Wink, Jeff Kelly, Marty Gopel, Todd Hobscheit, Rod Nedved. What are you guys doing to Coach Perkins there?
Well, that's the one. Actually, this started, I should have gave you the other pictures. Before the Osage game, Tony Foy, he had actually shaved his head, and he told Sanger that asked Sanger if we beat Osage, would he shave his head? Well, guess what? We beat Osage and we got to shave his head. And then that's actually when the rest of us, most of us shaved our heads then after that. Well, then the whole deal was, as we told Perkins, if we make the playoffs, can we shave his head in front of the crowd or whatever? And that's what that picture is right there.
He was a good sport, it looked like.
Yeah, yep. You didn't have a choice. He agreed to it. So.
Yep. And it looks like you've been keeping up with the head shaving thing ever since.
If that's what you call it, yeah. Yeah, the hair's about the same, just in less or fewer places.
Yeah, it migrates to other areas of the body as we get a little older. And then this one, I talked to Kevin Sanger about this that you sent me. So this was after your South Hamilton win in the first round. Said coach, his back went out, his hip was hurting, and he was in the hospital from like Thursday through Monday morning. The playoff game at Pocahontas was Monday night, and he had to pretty much coach from a wheelchair that night. What do you remember about that quarterfinal game?
The quarterfinal, well, yeah, that's right. I just read that article. He in the first game, he ran out, he said out to us, and that's when he got a heck of a pain in his hip, and he'd had back problems from playing college ball, I think.
Yeah.
But in the article, it said that then that night after the game was all over with, he was going home and he said he couldn't get out of the vehicle.
Yeah.
So they had to take him to the hospital. And then, he was in there. Coach Perkins actually did all our practices. We played actually Wednesday night, our first game, got rained out at halftime, rain and lightning out, and had to go back the next Thursday night to duel and play the second half. And then, and then Sanger was in the hospital. So Coach Perkins did our practices, which I don't know how much we practiced when we played the following Monday. I imagine we practiced a little bit Friday, I imagine Saturday, and then we were to Pocahontas on Monday to play.
Yep. There's Will Friesman and Bill Hudson helping him. And is that Mr. Timmerman behind Mr. Hudson there possibly, or is that just a look-alike?
I think, to the left?
To the left. That's not Timmerman, is it?
No.
Okay.
I'm not sure who
At
that.
first glance, I thought that, but I talked to Kevin Sanger about this.
Okay.
He was a freshman, I think, or an eighth grader. No, he would have been an eighth grader.
Correct. Yep.
And he said it was his job to wheel his dad on the sideline wherever Coach Sanger wanted to be. And he goes, as cool as it sounds to be on the sideline for a quarterfinal playoff game, wasn't that much fun with my dad yelling at me where to go about every 30 seconds throughout the game. So, yeah, this guy was dedicated, though.
Definitely. Amazing. My feeling is he probably talked them to letting him out of the hospital. He probably wasn't supposed to come out. Yep. I'm guessing he said, I'm going to the game. But
do you remember if he was back in school shortly after that, or was he gone for a while? Or
I don't. I do not remember. I remember him, showing up to the game like that and us playing the game. We should have actually been up in that game. We had some penalties that held us back. Matter of fact, I think we scored first. I'm not sure.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. In that game. And matter of fact, we should have scored again. And we had I don't know if we had a roughing the punter or something. We should have been up 2 or 3 touchdowns and just wasn't meant to be, I guess. And they ended up going on and winning the championship. Matter of fact, we had the closest game to them, I think.
That's a very common theme in Britt West Hancock history of the team that beats us in the playoffs goes on to win the championship almost every single time. So we could have had a whole lot more. So we're going to talk more about Coach Sanger during the track part, but we're going to get to some more sponsors here, and then we're going to talk briefly baseball and basketball. All right, the World with Nate podcast is my next sponsor. Nate Allison is the brother of a friend of ours here in Indianola. He has his own podcast, and it's his sole source of income. It's called The World with Nate. He hits on a lot of great topics, gets a lot of cool people on his podcast as guests. His goal is to help and inspire people. Nate's from Iowa. He loves helping people reach their dreams. Check out his podcast. Again, it's called The World with Nate. It's on Apple and Spotify and anywhere else you can get your podcasts. Please follow him on social media. Levi Dawn Trucking is my next sponsor. Thanks to Levi Dawn and his trucking company for sponsoring a bunch of these episodes. Call Levi at 641-860-0077 or look him up on Facebook. That's Levi Dawn Trucking. And I just talked to Levi and a bunch of his teammates. I set up a podcast with the 2007 football team, those seniors that went to the Dome 3 straight years. Original Saw Company is the leader in American-made radial arm saws, crosscut power saws, and beam saws. They also offer accessories such as extension tables, measuring and clamping systems, dust shrouds, and miter saw stands. Original Saw's product line includes items for both the hobby woodworker and complex automated industrial settings. Sister company Williams and Hussey Machine and Tool manufactures and sells molders and accessories for making custom and stock moldings and trim. Original Saw provides through Jones Machinery a preventative maintenance and repair service of wood and metal working machinery throughout the Midwest. Want to know more about the Original Saw Company? Check them out at originalsaw.com. And thanks to Sidetrack Lanes and Britt for sponsoring the podcast. Sidetrack Lanes opened in Britt in 1996 under new ownership. Go bowl at 411 Main Avenue North in Britt. Enjoy some food and a drink or two while you're bowling. Join a league. Check them out on their events page on their Facebook page. Call Sidetrack Lanes at 843-4567 or check out their Facebook page. Like I said, that's Ron Bauer and Sidetrack Lanes. And then another sponsor of mine that's been doing this for a while is Renee Deemer and Deemer Realty. Hometown hospitality and service with a smile. That's what Deemer Realty is all about. Helping buyers and sellers make a smooth transition when moving within or to their area is their top priority. Serving North Central Iowa since 1999, Deemer Realty has steadily grown over the years, establishing an outstanding record of sales in the North Iowa area that speaks to their dedication to every customer. That's Deemer Realty. Go to deemerrealty.net to check them out. All right, a little basketball talk, little baseball talk here. I saw that you were first team all conference as a senior in basketball, and Steve Savoy and Mike Nedved were honorable mention. You guys only won 5 games your senior year, which if you know anything about Britt West Hancock basketball history, not a ton of success, had a couple pockets here and there. And then, 6-7 years ago, we had some good success, but what was it like playing basketball in Britt in the mid 80s?
I loved playing basketball, but as far as win losses on my side, basketball was not my strong suit. Matter of fact, I was trying to think, it was either 7th or 8th grade. The only game they ever won, I was homesick. So I don't know if that tells you anything or not, but it wasn't, as far as that, it was great. And I'm not, it just, I don't know. You're right. It wasn't our strong suit.
Yeah, there was a sport called wrestling across from you that
correct
had a lot of the good athletes. So
yep. Wrestling was like football back then.
Yep. And it's kind of cool to see it coming back to be one of the major sports again with Mark running the show. So
exactly.
Yep. So the game I found, you guys scored 94 points on Kanawha in the last regular season of the game, or of this last regular season game of the season. But the yearbook I used didn't have any postseason results. Did you guys ever win any playoff games in basketball?
I don't think so. Like I said, our basketball, it wasn't the greatest. Probably the best year that I remember maybe was my sophomore year. I got to play a little bit, but that's when Emmert was there. Coach Emmert was there.
Yep.
And they had a pretty good class. Rich Church, they had Rob Cummins, Dwight Klein, Jim McDermott was on there. Oh, it seems like I'm missing some. And I know Emmert brought me up a little bit to play. I didn't get to play a lot, but those guys were fun to play with. They're fun to watch. I don't know if they might have had a 500 record. I don't know, but as far as postseason, no, we didn't go very far.
Not much.
Yeah, it just, and we just weren't meant to be, I guess, in basketball.
Yeah. I'd imagine though, you guys still got good crowds to the games though. People still came out and supported and came to most of the games.
Oh, exactly. Yep, I think the one my senior year, what'd you say we were, 5 or something like that?
5 games, yeah, it's probably like 5 and 14 or something like that.
Okay, I know, my parents came to every game, everything I went to, except for, and I think it was a Belmont game, they had Dad's Christmas party. Didn't show up, and I won the game with the last shot. I remember them coming home later at night after Christmas party, and they woke me up in bed and said, "Oh, we heard we missed a heck of a game." I said, "Yes, you did."
Yeah,
and I told them, "Won't come anymore because we'll win more games."
Yeah. Just watch the live stream, right?
That's right. Yeah, if you could back then.
The live stream that didn't exist back in the 80s.
Yep.
So, your last 2 years, you had Coach Perkins as a basketball coach. Do you remember how he compared as a football coach compared to a basketball coach, or was he about the same?
Yeah, the same. He had a couple state titles under his belt, I think, as a basketball coach.
Oh, really?
But I think, didn't he?
I'm not sure. I have no idea, honestly.
I was thinking he did. Maybe I was wrong, but I thought he had some, but yeah, he was a good basketball coach. It's just our talent wise, we just didn't have. North Iowa Conference was tough. Forest City was always tough.
Yep.
I think Northwood, my senior year, Northwood made it down to state, lost in 3 overtimes.
Yep.
Everybody seemed like they had kids that seemed like every team had kids 6'5", 6'6". I think our tallest, like you said, was Steve Savoy, 6'2".
Yep.
The year before, Andrew Townsend, 6'2", 6'3". Northwood had the Son boys. They were 6'5", 6'6". Forest City's always tough in baseball and basketball. That was their sport, and it just.
Yep.
No, we were there, I guess, or I was there to stay in shape, maybe help me with the next season coming up.
You just described my basketball career. We enjoyed it. We weren't that good. We wanted to stay in shape for the Sanger seasons, football and track. And we were competitive. Crowds came out to watch us, but never. And then, everyone I played against was 6'5" or taller. So,
yeah. My recollection of basketball that back then on Saturdays, they've had open gym. And actually, Emmert would play, Coach Timmerman would play, Coach Sanger would play. Or something. That was probably the funnest times I had. Us kids, they'd come down and whoever would come play against them, and that was a ball. Emmert was an animal back then.
And Sanger's the most competitive person you'll ever meet, so I'm sure he didn't play just for fun and giggles.
No, I was talking to Mark Eisman. They played some of them leagues, after high school, and there's some stories you should ask about that someday.
Well, if Mark would have joined
Miller, the they were excellent back then, but
I'm just thinking, I used to play Coach Sanger in ping pong on the stage, and he would play for blood. It didn't matter how good or bad you were; he was going to destroy you. And that was just ping pong.
Yeah. Did you play badminton? Did he ever set them up?
Yeah, we did badminton and pickleball. I don't remember him playing those against us, but I remember ping pong. I'm guessing, but at that stage, his back probably was hurting a lot anyway. But ping pong, oh man, you could barely return the ball to him, and he'd have it 20 feet away from you. It was just.
Yep, I don't think it mattered what he played. He was competitive and everything. I tried my guts out to beat him in badminton. Nobody, I don't know if anybody ever did. I never heard anybody that did.
There you go. If you're out there watching this and you beat him in badminton, please send me a message. We want to know. So.
Yep, exactly. Let us know, because I don't think it ever happened.
Nope. All right. So baseball. Again, baseball. In the history of Britt, there wasn't a ton of success. Like, again, there were some pockets, some good years here and there. Your senior year, you guys unfortunately were just 3-15, but you did win a playoff game against Belmont 7-4, and then you lost to Garner 9-4. But again, you guys were just so well coached all the way around, whether there was success in a sport or not. Everyone I've talked to about Coach Timmerman as a baseball coach talked about how fundamentally sound you guys were. If you're not going to be, maybe the best team in the conference, your record's not going to be great. You at least were going to be fundamental and respectable. What do you think about Coach Timmerman in baseball?
Oh, I love playing for Coach Timmerman. He was a good coach. You're right. I wish we could have done better. It was kind of like basketball. We just didn't do it. And like everybody else was tougher in the conference than we were. But yes, he was great to play for. Fun guy to be around.
Yep. Any good stories you can think of from summer baseball?
The only one was my freshman year again. He brought me up. We went to Osage, and I don't know if you remember a guy, Craig Eisman remembers, a guy by the name of Neil Pint pitched and could throw 90 mile an hour.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this man could throw. And Craig Eisman batted in front of me and got beamed. And I was next to come up as a freshman.
Nope, not doing it.
No, exactly. You know what? I think I hit the ball. I was left-handed, and I think it might have got down, like, it didn't go fair. It went down the third baseline. And then I think I struck out. I don't know, but talk about shaking in your boots.
Yeah, you survived and lived another day, so that's all that mattered at that point.
Exactly, because that guy could throw, but wasn't exactly always he got a little wild.
Yeah. You should have done what one of my little league kids did when I coached up at Buffalo Center years ago when my brother was a kid. We were playing Lakota, which is, in the North Iowa School District. And this kid that was pitching for Lakota was in my brother's grade named Frank. And Frank was 6'1" as like a seventh grader. And I think he had a mustache going. And on a 45-foot mound or whatever it was, he could throw the ball so fast. It probably was 75 miles an hour if you equaled it out to if he was on a real mound,
Yep.
One game, I only had 9 kids, and one of them was a little 5th grade boy named Matthew, and he was tiny. And the batter before, like you just said with your story, got hit by Frank, and he's down on the ground and he's in tears, and it hurt because this kid throws it hard. And I look over at this little tiny 5th grade boy, and I'm like, well, you're next. And he goes, I don't want to. I'm like, well, I don't have anyone to put in for you. You have to. And he goes, well, what do I do? And I'm like, well, if you swing 3 times and miss, you're out. Just do that. And you tried. On the first pitch, this little boy swung 3 times in a row on the same pitch. Just swing, swing, swing. And he starts walking back towards me. And I'm like, no, you have to swing on 3 different pitches. He goes, you didn't tell me that. So he had it in his mind, 3 swings and I'm out of here. And he wanted to get it over as quick as possible. So
wow.
I always recommend that to people. Give it a shot. You never know. So yeah, scary stuff.
Yeah. No, I love playing for Coach Timmerman. He was a good coach to play for. We were talking tonight about him, all the stuff he did. I don't know if you remember, but he did junior high basketball, junior high football. He did little GBA in the winter time. He did baseball. What else did that man coached more stuff? Loved, I think, just working with kids on any of it was just awesome. And
a lot of that, like you mentioned, is the stuff that doesn't make the newspapers. Really, it's the the middle school sports that are the feeder programs for the varsity. And so the middle school coaches are special people. I've always said I've coached middle school for many years in different sports, and it's like you're not doing it for a lot of money. You're not doing it for recognition. You're just doing it because you enjoy it. So most days, some days you're like, why am I here? But
that's tough. That junior high stuff.
Oh man, and their hormones and the attitudes, and nowadays the cell phones and everything else that goes with it. It just gets to be fun. So all right, I get to a few more sponsors here, and then we're gonna get to the part I'm most looking forward to, and that's track and field. But first, here we go. Mike Muth Welding. I want to thank them for sponsoring this episode. Contact Mike Muth Welding for all your steel, aluminum, and stainless steel repairs and custom welding. Contact Mike Muth Welding at 641-512-3100 or MD Muth, that's MUTH Muth, MD Muth 50 at yahoo.com. Mike Muth Welding is located at 398 2nd Street Northwest in Britt. And thanks again to the Britt Car Truck Bike and Tractor Night Cruise for sponsoring 30 of these episodes. Jared Winger and company run these great events, which will take place on July 20th, August 17th, and September 21st. They're all on Wednesday nights. He's also the owner of Mojo Productions. Mojo sponsored a lot of my episodes previously. Jared lives in Britt and has for over 15 years. This 5th annual event has free kids activities, trophies are presented for all categories, and a $1,000 award is given out at each show. You can't beat free admission and great food and drink from Britt vendors only. Check out the video on BrittCarCruise.com to learn more about the Britt Car Truck Bike and Tractor Night Cruises. And then Michael and Brianne Ewing of Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company with locations in Britt, Kanawha, Clarion, Belmont, and Dow's. Mike is a 1998 graduate of West Hancock, and his family's been privileged to care for the communities of Britt and Kanawha since 1977. You can find them online at ewingfh.com or on Facebook. Give them a call at 843-3839 or 762-3211. That's Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company. Thanks again to the Ewings for starting pretty much from the beginning with me on these podcasts. And then head up to Wilson's Diner at 441 Main Avenue North in Britt for breakfast, lunch, and supper. They are closed on Tuesdays, but open every other day of the week. Just make sure you check out their Facebook page for which days and at what times they're open. Call Wilson's Diner at 843-0550. Wilson's Diner is great food at great prices, and they look forward to serving you. That's Wilson's Diner in Britt. And I follow them on Facebook, and every time they post their daily special, I'm like, how are they only charging that much for that meal? Because down here, I swear things are easily a lot more expensive than what they're charging up there. So I
Really?
kind of jealous of those guys, of you guys up there. You have a lot
Yeah,
of
we just had their chicken the other night. It was pretty good.
Yeah, you guys have a lot of restaurants in a small town too.
Oh,
It's pretty,
yep.
pretty spoiled. So
Yes, we are.
all right, let's go through some track stuff. Your freshman year was 1982. I found this fascinating because I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to this, but the district meet your freshman year in 82, Belmont, it was before Belmont Clemmy, Belmont left that night with the district title. You guys were second. Like almost 2 weeks later, so I think it was actually after the state meet, they reversed that and gave Britt the team district title. It was discovered by someone, I don't know who, that someone up in the booth was doing some crappy math and didn't add up the scores right on the placings, and we were later awarded 2 team points, and it cost Belmont a team point or 2, which gave us a 2-point overall win in the district meet. Do you remember this whole district title snafu?
No, I don't. I called Craig Eisman the other night and talked to him or texted him, and he said, yeah, he remembers. He said, actually, he thought it was a week later we got the trophy.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I don't remember that at all. I don't know what the deal.
It's crazy because you would think like, oh, well, it's final, so we're moving on or it's whatever. But somebody must have done some convincing and showed them the math, and then they made the switch. That just blew my mind a little bit. I could see nowadays with social media that would get taken out of hand, out of context. People would throw a fit about it and it'd be some big controversy. But yeah, that was interesting to read. So
exactly.
Yeah. So you did some damage your freshman year, which is probably not real common as a freshman back then to do what you did. But you, as a team, you guys went to state in 6 events and you placed in 5 of them. And that got you guys 3rd in the state as a team with just 6 events. Mark Hudson won the 800. You, Craig Eisman, Bob Kalsdorf, and Hudson were 2nd in the 4x8. Rob Whipple was 2nd in the disc, and he was 4th in the shot. You, Craig, Randy Weiland, and Hudson were 3rd in the 1600 medley. And that same foursome from the 4x8 was 7th in that race. So you guys won in the regular season every meet except for 2. You were 2nd at the North Iowa Conference meet, and then, like I said, 3rd at state. What do you remember from that first year of track?
I got to correct you on the one deal, that 16 medley. That last one actually was Kalsdorf, not Hudson. I see that article has that. That is wrong, but Kalsdorf was actually the guy in there, not Mark Hudson. But that was just Craig Eisman, Mark Hudson, Bob Kalsdorf. They were great to run with. They were fun to run with. They brought you in being a freshman. Yeah, it was just, it doesn't seem like there was much pressure on me. I just had to run. Those guys who actually had the pressure being the upperclassmen or whatever.
Yep.
It was just a good time. I talked to Craig or texted him yesterday, and he said 40 years ago this month, we ran at the Drake Relays. We actually made it to the Drake Relays in the 4x8. And he thought the 4x4, but I just looked up an article. I didn't see the 4x4 run down there.
Okay.
But yeah, 40 years ago to this month, and then next month would have been state track. So, and 4x8, as far as we were 1A at that time?
I would imagine,
Making Drake Relays is very uncommon.
Yeah. Yep. Drake just making it in general is pretty cool, but to be the smallest class and make it's pretty neat.
Exactly. I seen in the article we didn't get into the finals, but just to even get down there and run, I think they only took, either you had to run under a certain time or took so many teams, and we didn't get in the finals. But I don't remember making Drake. Craig kind of had to remind me, but I do remember the state track meet, but nothing of making the Drake Relays.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to ask you how you did, but you said you didn't make the finals, and it's middle of the pack probably.
Right, exactly. We were running. I see like Ames won it, and schools like that, where you're running against 4A, 1A against 4A.
Yeah.
And I see the winning time was, I think, like 7:54, and we ran we have the school record down here is 8 flat. So yeah, they were way ahead of us.
Do you know how long your school record held for, or does it still
the record? Still there as far as I know.
Still there?
Yep, in the 4x8. Yep.
Cool. I'm excited to see what this new Hall of Fame coming up later this year, all the new record boards and how everything's going to look. That'll be a lot of fun to check those out. So yeah, that's for a record to still hold from back then till now is impressive, because it seems like every year at state track you see records just falling all the time. So
exactly.
Definitely. So after your freshman year, were you kind of hooked on the track bug here, or was it just one of those? I asked Jeff Nielsen, you're fast, you did well, so it's fun, but you don't think about it much till the next season, or did track kind of become your thing at this point?
Yeah, and to go back, actually, Jeff's podcast, I remember Sanger took me down Jeff's senior year to state track. Coach Sanger took me with them. I don't know if I was manager or what, but I got to go with them and watch them run. And I remember at the end of the meet, we were getting ready to leave, and Coach Sanger looked at me. He said, "What do you think?" I said, "I will be down here." It was the greatest place to be. You couldn't ask, I imagine the wrestlers going to vets or, playing in the Unidome or whatever. I just knew that I wanted to come back, and I think that's what started it. So yeah, after my freshman year and running with those guys, you like the glory, it was great. So yeah, you look forward to track, but when the next season came, like baseball, you're concentrating on baseball, or football's next, you're getting ready for football. But yeah, track was always on your mind, Go ahead.
How'd you guys work out in the off season? Did you do a lot of just sprinting, or is it just lifting or running in general, or what'd you do?
In the off season, like the summer and stuff?
Yeah. Besides playing baseball.
You do a little run. I think I kind of held some jobs down, and I don't know that I did a lot of working out. Mine was probably more in-season workouts in the mornings.
Yeah.
A lot of times we get up and run in the mornings before, practice. So you kind of have a double practice, maybe run 2 miles in the morning, lift weights in the morning, and then have your regular practices in the evening. So
yeah, cool.
I don't remember doing a lot in the summer myself. I think we was usually trying to work and hold a job, make a little money,
Yeah. You made a good point though about how he brought you there. I think of like in football, he had these little kids be the managers, and those managers grew up to be all state players and all district players. And I was a basketball manager, so I always thought that was so cool. I want to be one of those guys someday. Kids that go watch the state championship games in the Unidome wearing their jerseys, I'm like, all they have to be thinking about is that's going to be me someday, hopefully. So just going back to that tradition that's been built. Same with Pride De Leon with wrestling. Kids would go to the varsity meets and knowing that's going to be them in a couple of years. There was always that next guy up, and those kids watching, always thinking that they're going to be the next ones. So I always think that's pretty neat.
Oh, exactly. That was awesome when he did that. I can still remember that, I said, I'm running there. That time, the track's blue now, isn't it? I think. I remember the track was orange at that time, but it was just a great place to run. You couldn't ask for anything better. And I said, I'm coming here to run.
And
I got a story about that here when I'm a junior, but go ahead.
All right, we'll get to sophomore year, and then we'll do some sponsors, and we'll get to junior year.
Okay.
So your sophomore year was 1983. 5 events made it to state that year. You didn't do as well as a team. You were 28th, and you scored 6.5 team points. Monty Eccles was second in the pole vault, which I was asking Jeff last week as well. The pole vault always kind of intrigues me because I can just see injuries and damage galore going on there. But second in the pole vault, that's pretty neat. You were 5th in the 800 open. And then in my research, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, you, Rob Cummins, Wayne Cronman, the superintendent, and Randy Weiland ran in the 4x4, but you guys didn't place. Do you remember how close you guys were to placing in that event in the 4x4?
No, and that's another story, to be honest with you. To start off my sophomore year, Rob Cummins run the mile. I don't think we had anybody to run the 2 miles. So I asked Coach Singer if I could get in it at the beginning of the year. And he said, yeah, go ahead. Well, I ended up winning it. And I don't know, if I was in probably one of the best shape of my life at that time or what, but the 2 mile was pretty easy. So he let me run that all year round. And I made it to state in that. So I actually got down to state my freshman or sophomore year in the 2 mile. You said what, the 4x4?
Yep, 4x4. And then you were fifth in the 800 open.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rob in the mile, you in the 2 mile. Yep.
So I remember training when we were getting ready to go down for state training. Sanger was actually training us for quarters and halves. I was training for that, not much for the 2 mile. Mm-hmm. So my first race down there was the 2 mile or the 2 mile run. So we lined up, and I know, his normal, I can hear it in his head, you need to get after it. Well, yep. That's what I did. I don't know if anybody ever heard the story, but I took off like I was running an 800. Got way ahead. I don't know why to this day. I'd like to know why, but I think I almost had heat stroke in that race. I don't know how I finished or whatever, but yeah, from then on, I don't remember much of the state meet after that because I was so fried. I think it was a hot day, and I took off running an 800 instead of a 2 mile, and not good.
But that first lap or two, you looked pretty good.
Oh, heck yeah. Yep, I was going to break the 5-minute mile or whatever they call it.
And that's when you tell people, I led a race at state track for 2 laps. You don't have to tell them that you didn't lead the other however many laps that equals out to, but
yep.
You don't have to add that part in. It's kind of like the story I always tell people. I was a head football coach for 2 years down here at a small school. I only won 2 games in 2 years, but what I tell people is my mentor, Bob Sanger, and I won a combined 360 football games. I just leave off the part that he got 358 and I got 2. It doesn't matter. It's just the way you tell something is
exactly
twist it how you want. So,
him and I would talk, back when, and you'd give him a little guff or whatever. And if, you could see him get a little mad, he'd kind of bring that up. Hey, you remember that 2 mile you ran? He'd always kind of rub her back in, but I still to this day wonder why I did that, but whatever. I guess maybe that was the good Lord putting me back down to earth. Or
yeah, never know.
I don't know. So yeah, as far as the 4x4, I don't remember how we did. I have no clue. I don't remember it.
Yep.
But
Is
I do
Randy...
remember one funny story.
Yeah,
it's my brother as a sophomore. He's probably going to kill me for this, but he ran the 200 open a lot, and I think it was the Britt meet here. It was pretty chilly, and I know he'd get nervous. We'd all get nervous. Well, it was time for him to get in the block, so he took his sweatpants off, and they're getting ready to blow the whistle, and he's about ready to get in the blocks, and he's like, something's wrong. I turn around and look. He took his shorts off too with his sweat. So he's sitting there in his jock, and his shirt was long enough nobody could see, but he had to hurry up and throw his shorts on so he could run the race.
Nice. That would have been
He's
great.
He's gonna kill me if he watches this, but sorry.
Nope, that's perfect. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah. So
that would have made.
I embarrassed myself. Now I should embarrass him.
Exactly. That would have made the paper. That's for sure. So.
Oh, exactly. Yep.
Yep. All right. I'm going to get to some sponsors, and then we're going to get to your last 2 seasons and then a couple other things and wrap it up.
All
the
right.
Britt Food Center, locally owned, family operated hometown grocery store in Britt. They offer fresh produce, fresh cut meat, fresh bakery, and homemade deli items. They're working hard to meet the needs and requests of their community. Britt Food Center is a proud supporter of West Hancock schools. They're open 7 days a week from 8 to 8 daily, except on Sunday when they're open 8 to 6. Check them out at brittfoodcenter.com or follow them on Facebook for deals and specials. Call them at 843-4429. That's the Britt Food Center. Mark Schreur is my next sponsor, a classmate of yours. Mark's proud to support some of his classmates and teachers in these podcasts, and he just wants to encourage people to support the Sanger Legacy Fund. So thanks to Mark Schreur for sponsoring this podcast tonight. Jim Deemer and the Britt Vet Clinic. The Britt Vet Clinic is also long-term sponsoring this podcast like they have in the past. They're located in downtown Britt. They are there for all your small animal vet needs and swine vet services. Call Jim at 843-3416 or email the Britt Vet Clinic at brittvetclinic@gmail.com. First State Bank takes pride in their community-based values, and they want to be your bank. They take pride in serving the Eagle Nation communities. They can personalize your banking products to meet the needs of your busy life with free internet banking and their mobile banking app with mobile deposit. Try their bill pay services. First State Bank backs their Eagles 24/7, just like their service to you. First State Bank, whether it's personal, business, real estate, or ag loans, they have the products to serve you best. That's First State Bank in Britt. And then my next sponsor is Daniels Auto Collision in Charles City. Owner Jason Daniels is a 1990 West Hancock grad. Whether you need a minor fix-up or complete collision repair, Daniels Auto Collision is North Iowa's premier auto body shop and will have your vehicle back on the road looking better than new. With over 30 years of experience and all major insurances accepted, why take your chances with anyone other than Daniels Auto Collision? Call them at 641-220-3805. Email them at danielsautocollision@gmail.com or check them out at danielsautocollision.com. All right, junior year, 1984. You and Monty Eccles were the only two that made it to state, but between the two of you, you managed to tie for 10th place in the team standings in Class 1A. You were second in the 800 that year. You were fourth in the open 4. Monty was fourth in the pole vault. And one thing I found odd was you guys were 7th as a team at conference, but 10th at state. Like that just doesn't seem like that should be correct. And if it's not correct, let me know, but that's what I found in the newspapers. What do you remember about you two going down and doing some damage there at state? And then tell your story you were mentioning earlier.
Well, yeah, what I wanted to say was, what I talked about, going there with Jeff Nielsen and going to Drake. And, I said I wanted to run there. Our junior and senior year, the state board people or whatever decided that they wanted the bigger classes to utilize Drake themselves. So guess where we ran our track meet?
Where's that?
We went to Ankeny.
Okay.
We didn't run at Drake my junior or senior year. And
Really?
to be honest with you, we had a better track here at Britt than Ankeny had. It was a nice facility, but nothing like Drake. Their track was hard. I mean, it was a downer. It was great to get down to state. I shouldn't complain. A lot of people didn't get to do it, but it'd be like somebody wrestling and taking them, going over to a different town or whatever, not going to Vet Stadium or,
Yeah.
So it was kind of a downer. I can't remember. I wish Coach was still alive today to ask him, but it had something to do with the bigger classes. They wanted them to be by themselves and run, and they put the smaller classes down in Ankeny. So
maybe to speed up the meet a little bit too, or something. Or...
I can't remember. I don't know why it was. Maybe Monty Eccles. I'd have to ask him if he remembers. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was good to get down there. Yeah, we did fairly well. I remember I got beat by a kid from West Branch in the 800. Well, I think he beat me by 3 or 4 seconds. I don't remember much about the 400. And that was kind of my race too, but they said I took 4th in that, right?
Yep.
But
4th in the open 4. Yep.
Yep. But Monty was a heck of a pole vaulter. He was fun to watch. He knew how to work that thing. But yeah, that's what I just wanted to say was what a downer to run. Drake realized that was just awesome place to run, and then you go to something like this. It just
Well, that's like if the football team makes it to the semifinals or the championship and they say, hey, instead of the dome, you have to play over there in Janesville. You'd be like, okay, yeah.
Yep, exactly.
No thanks.
Coach Sanger probably wouldn't care because he wanted grass anyhow. He hated artificial turf. So, but, as far as this, I don't know. It was great to run there. It's great to make it to state, but it didn't complete your last 2 years of track. So
Yep. You didn't get to be in that mecca.
No, exactly.
Tell me about Monty Eccles. What do you know where he is nowadays or what he's doing? I see his name.
I think he's around here yet. He's got his own painting job. Matter of fact, he painted a house right next to us here a year ago or whatever. So
Okay.
yeah, I think he still lives around here in the area. I don't see him much. I don't, get out and frequent the bars around town here or whatever. So, and I don't know if he does either, but pretty sure he's around this area doing painting inside, outside, whatever. So
how would he be related to like Bill and Marilyn Eccles? Is that
he'd be their nephew.
Nephew?
Okay. Yep. Steve was their kid. They'd be first cousins.
Okay.
So
yep.
Yeah, yep. His dad was I can't remember, but yeah, they were brothers. Wayne and his dad were brothers. So
yeah, I was pretty sure it wasn't like Darren and Craig's brother, but
no,
I was like, there's not that many Eccles around, I don't think. So
yep. No.
Yep. I spent a lot of time with Bill Eccles back in the day. He's a good dude.
Yes.
Across the street from Mark's Pizza and church and stuff. And if you ever watch that guy eat, it's a sight to behold. He is the fastest eater I've ever seen in my entire life. It's
really
impressive. Oh yeah. You ever get a chance to watch Bill eat, watch him eat.
Wow.
It's something. So all right, let's move on to your senior season here. 1985. In the regular season, you guys won 3 meets as a team, and then you either got second or third every other meet. You guys were third at conference and third at districts. And then going down to state, you won, and you were in 2A this year is what I found. You won the 2A 400 meter state championship with a time of 50 flat. I looked at the other classes that year. You would have won the 3A title, but you would not have won the 1A title with that same time, which I thought was pretty interesting. Do you remember much about this race? Does your 52nd time, is that a record at Britt still, or has that been broken?
Yeah, no, it's still a record. And that's another thing I need to thank Sanger for, is not letting Jeff Nielsen run that, because he would have shattered it. I remember him running splits that year at state at like 48.
Yeah.
Why Coach Sanger never let him run it, but I need to thank him very, very much.
Yep.
But yeah,
maybe that's the reason. Yeah.
Well, that could be, but yeah, I still have the record. I thought it would have been beat by now. There's been a lot of kids close, but
yep.
But as far as that race, I don't remember anybody being real close. I don't think I blew people away, but
wasn't a photo finish by any means though.
No, I don't think so. And I think the 800 was about the same way. I was far enough ahead, but
Yep. And speaking of that 800, you also won the state title in 85 with 1:58.4 seconds. What did you take away from your track career? What did you take away from Coach Sanger in football and track? How can you kind of sum your career up?
He was great to run for, great to play for. He was very intense on the field, but off the field, I mean, you could talk to him about anything. He was just awesome. A PE teacher, it was awesome just to go there and talk to the man. He could remember anything. He'd tell you stories like, I keep telling you, I don't remember this. How he'd remember it? How did he do it? He'd tell you about anybody and everybody what they did. But he was just awesome to play for. I tell you that. He was great.
And what you just said is exactly why I do this podcast. He's not here anymore to tell stories, and there's so many good stories and things he remembered and things he knew and things he could tell you about, and it just hurts to think about that that's not possible. And that's why I love getting people on here and sharing stories and remembering things and name dropping and all that stuff. So it's fun to do this.
It's too bad he didn't write a book, because I bet it probably wouldn't have taken him too long, but everything he remembered, it would have been great just to read something like that.
Yeah, it would have been pretty cool.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. So let's do a couple random questions here. Who was your favorite teacher growing up at school? Elementary, middle school, high school? Who would have been one of your favorites? If you had to gun to your head pick one right now, who would it be?
Probably Paul Hauge.
Yep.
He's just a great class to be in. We just enjoyed it. Seemed like every day you wanted to go there. Between that and going to Sanger's PE class, I was a sports nut. I wasn't much into learning. I hate to say it. I wasn't really a student. I made it by, but so I got along, with all the other teachers. I sure think I did, but yeah, Hauge was awesome.
Yep, he's my next podcast guest on May 5th. So
yeah, I see that. So that'd be something to watch.
Yep. What was your favorite sport to play? Not particularly the one you were best at. Which one did you look forward to the most?
Probably football. Just being a team sport. I always loved playing team sport. Track could be team, but also individual, but it just, I don't know, just loved football.
Yep.
Still do, I guess.
Yep. Next question. If you pick Coach Sanger, you have to pick a second, but which coach inspired you the most?
If I pitch,
if you pick Sanger, you got to pick another one. Throwing you a curveball.
No, probably Coach Timmerman.
Yep.
Yeah, he was just great to play for, great to talk to. He taught you a lot. Like I said, he had little NBA. You played against him on Saturdays in basketball, and he was just down to earth guy. Fun to be around, great teacher. Yeah, probably Coach Timmerman.
Who would you say is your favorite teammate of all time?
I thought about that I don't know that I really had one, because every sport, you actually had a different teammate or somebody. You didn't always hang around the same people all the time, depending on which sport you were with.
Yep.
Football, there was a bunch of us: Jeff Kelly, Chris Fisher, Jay Hempy. When it came to basketball, Steve Savoy and I hung around together at seniors. Track, Jay Hempy again. Baseball, about the same. I don't know that I had a favorite teammate.
Same core of guys.
Yep, just a bunch of them, and they're just all fun to be around. We all kind of hung around together for the most part and had a good time.
Good. Yeah. Well, we're going to wrap things up here. Like always, I'm going to get to my sponsors one more time. I always promise them 3 mentions on the podcast, and then we'll say our goodbyes. Again, I had 20 sponsors for tonight: the Britt Car Truck, Bike, and Tractor Night Cruise, Ewing Funeral Home and Monument Company, Jay Hiscox of State Farm Insurance, First State Bank, Daniels Auto Collision, Katie's Salon and Tanning, Deemer Realty, Nick Schmidt, Kelly Real Estate, Sidetrack Lanes, Wilson's Diner, Britt Food Center, Levi Don Trucking, Miller and Sons Golf Cars, the Britt Vet Clinic, the World with Nate Podcast, Mike Muth Welding, Mark Scar, the Original Saw Company, and Jeff and Becky Nielsen. I always say a pretty impressive group of people and businesses there. We're pretty blessed in that area. Next up on the podcast, guy you just mentioned, Mr. Hauge. On May 5th, May 18th, I'll be talking with girls on the 2011-2012 basketball teams that went to state. And then Steve Kelly, Nate Schreur, part 2. Nate and I are going to do a second one. And then Josef Smith plays for the Hawkeyes right now, football. And like I said on the last podcast, I booked out my entire 2022 lineup. And one I'm really excited about is in December. It's with Mrs. Kitchen, Mrs. Savoy, Mrs. Hildman, Mrs. McCauley, and Mrs. Farrell, a bunch of the elementary teachers from when I was in school, and a few of them are still at Britt teaching. I really am excited for that one, non-sports one. I want to get lots of people to sponsor that one to honor their some of their favorite teachers from growing up. So like always, John, do you have any last things to throw out there that we maybe missed, or people you want to mention?
I guess I can't think of anything else that I missed. I just want to say, thanks for what you do. This is awesome. And I don't know if any high school kids will watch this, but, enjoy it. Enjoy your high school career, because it goes fast, and it just enjoy, I guess, is all I can say. But Thanks for what you do.
You bet. I'd go back in a heartbeat for the sports part of things for sure. But
exactly. Like I said, I'm not sure I was much of a classman, but exactly.
Looking at this fall's football, I'm like 17 years removed or whatever already, and over 20 from when I started high school. I'm like, that's not possible. So enjoy it while you can. So all right. Well, thanks again for coming on, John. And like always, go Eagles.